am super excited to be joined by two bona fide talents on filmishilmy.com today for a very important movie called Article 370. Yami and Priya, thank you so much for joining me, and huge congratulations on this film.
Thank you.
It's arguably one of the most essential and crucial films, not just in Indian cinema, essentially, but also of our history and the Constitution as well. Talk to me about your reactions of actually, being approached for this role, and how much of an instant yes was it for you? Yami, would you like to go first?
Um, the films that I choose to associate myself with, they're always an instant yes. And the ones I don't, for whatever creative reason, that's also an instant no. I do not take much time to, I don't like any to keep anyone waiting or hanging for me for long. And I do not try and convince myself also that I should be a part of, because that means my first instinct is telling me not to. So I'm convincing myself that, oh, I think I should because of this reason. So I don't do that. Or that doesn't work for me. So, and for Article 370, there was yes in caps lock. And there was I've said this before, it's films like these, as an actor, as a performer, as a professional, and somewhere there's an audience inside me also. In every aspect, it's once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, I felt, and there is no way I would let that go, and would in fact do whatever I can in my might to be a part of film and to make sure that whoever we are representing respectively, and the thought, most importantly, that we are representing, the subject, the story, such a massive team, and as you said, our history somewhere which still affects our present, will give in my everything that I have, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone, to do everything in our best capacity, because it deserves that. And now we've come to a point, we're just 1 week away, and really excited to see how the audience responds to the film.
Right. Yeah. Would you like to add anything to that?
No, I completely agree with what she says. I think we think the same way. It was an instant yes for me as well. And most of the films that I do, I think I also think from an audience point of view, and my gut instinct, if it says yes to do the film, I would do it irrespective of whether the film does well or not. And Article 370 was one such film which instantly made me say yes, because of the story, the script, and obviously the wonderful star cast and the entire team that's involved.
Right. I think it's also very powerful. Whenever I see whenever I see a film which is headlined by two very strong actresses, I think for me it stirs a sense of euphoria within me. I think I was very excited when I saw the two of you sort of in the trailer. I think Yami, even though you've been a part of films which had action before, but here you're actually literally executing some wonderful action sequences. Uh, for you to really get into the skin of this character, एक तो physical preparations I'm sure आपको बहुत करने पड़े थे, but उसके साथ साथ how mentally and emotionally were you motivated for this? And then Priya, will also come to you and I'll ask you this same question. Yami?
I think it's an art to be able to describe what went through your mind, what your body went through to express this whole process of prep. And I don't think I'm very good at it, at expressing in words, but I'll try. I've been trying with every interview. But yes, why? Also because this was something of a first for me. The first time I was interested with a role that is based on a real life person, a real life officer, female officer. And how do you begin prepping for that? Something which they've been doing for years and they're excellent at it. And how do you grasp that skill? How fast do you grasp that skill so you can you can transform yourself into that person. So yes, the preparation of the mental emotional prep went hand in hand with the physical aspect of the training. We had military advisors. Very thankful to Lieutenant Colonel Keshwinder Singh Ji, Bhushan sir from NSG, for training us, for literally starting from the scratch. That can you show us how do you hold a gun, and most of us had very filmy representation of holding a gun, and this is so wrong because of the films that you've seen. It's not correct, and even sometimes, even in action films or films that they are representing, the forces, it may not be authentic all the time. So he said we have to make sure that we condition you and train you in a way that you in your sleep also you should be able to get up and take the position if need be. So for that took of course a huge amount of obviously your dedication, your rigorous training, being there, being present. It's not about this was hurting, that was hurting, this injury. It's a part of it's a job that I have taken up voluntarily, and I cannot make it sound anything else, but it is what it is, just so I had a lot of fun creating that. I remember we got 1 day's permission to visit NSG Center, thanks to Colonel Kirpal Singh Ji, and we got one chance to practice there, and fire, use the weapons, and it was one of the best days of my life. I came out looking red and flushed, and I was like, wow, can I do this again? They said, no, ma'am, I think we're done with the session. Otherwise, we would rehearse in other rehearsal halls and everything. And also the team coming together, you don't know each other well, but you share your vulnerabilities, you share your questions, you share your doubts together. You grow as a team, right? Nobody is more advanced or somebody is joined late. Aisa kuch nahi hai. So बहुत मजा आया उसमें. Then of course I had my health coach Mustafa, who was training me with, I don't know, these sorts of activities. We named मौत का फरमान, मौत की सवारी, and such kind of exercises which were very true to their names. And then MMA. So all this was, whether we've shown it on screen or not, that's not the point. We'll show only that much what's required. But I, as an actor, need to be prepared with everything. Like for maths exam, they say, you or any exam, they would say, prepare for 100 and 100, tab jaake 90 marks aate the. Aisa, that kind of I try and put in some things. And of course, then the mental preparation, to create a backstory for the character. Zooni is a Kashmiri girl, and she's seen Kashmir through times the way you and I perhaps have seen watching on news, and how it's affected her, and what kind of officer she is because of experiences. Someone who's very passionate, someone who's very dedicated and determined to make sure that something should happen, that the valley should get what it deserves in terms of peace and development and all those things. How Zooni and Rajeshwari's character and everybody else, they all kind of come together in the film and pull off this literally like one of the most well organized operations or missions, you'd say, which will impact us I think, I'm sure, like we're still talking about what happened 70 years back. So for years to come, that'll hopefully have a very positive impact, which is the whole idea. So just this much I have to say.
No, sounds really heavy. But I think it's also interesting because Priya, I believe your character is also inspired by real life personality as well.
Yes.
When you are playing someone on real life who is in a very intense situation, someone who has to really think about the country first, and who's very driven, what sort of personality traits did you feel like you had to bring to the character from your actual self, if at all?
I think the only personality trait that I got into this character was just a little suggestion that I made to the director and Aditya Dhar sir himself, saying, since the character's name is Rajeshwari Swaminathan and she plays a South Indian bureaucrat and officer at the PMO, I said, I think it would be a little authentic if, Rajeshwari she says a couple of lines in Tamil as well, because she's from the South. But, she's working in Delhi at the office and things like that. Because, see, at the end of the day, you can take her out of South India, but you can't take South India out of her. So even at the, whatever situation thrown into her under pressure, you always think in your, your language, and then you spew it out in your language, and then you probably, you can say that in the language that everybody else understands, which we did not actually tell the fellow actors that I worked with. So I just spewed something, and I just said, look, I'm just going to say whatever I feel like in Tamil, if that's okay with you guys. So they were quite open to it, and they said, yeah, why not? It might work for the character as well. So when I said it, I got the genuine response from my co-actors. They said, what did you just say? And, even after the take, they came to me and they said, ma'am, what did you actually say? So that was one of the traits that I suggested. But the other things, I think, see, at the end of the day, I'm a director's actor. I would see what the director, what his vision is towards the character, how he, sees the character, how she's supposed to be, how her body language is supposed to be. And he also, Aditya Jambhale, as a director, I think he also gave us the creative freedom to create the character in your head, and, to say it or portray it however you feel. And it was a give and take process for me. So one thing I really felt bad was I didn't get to do the action that Yami did in the film. But my action is not that kind of an action, but my action is completely different. It's more office oriented.
Yeah. But actually, both of yous, I must say, I love the body of work you both have done. Because the roles that you both have pursued have been one of fire. There's a sense of fire within your characters that you've chosen, almost in a way which addresses social issues, actually, and major issues, or kind of tries to tackle suppression, oppression of any kind, regardless of the shade of the character. I would love to know, ये fire आपको कहाँ से आती है? Where do you feel that fire within you comes in?
I think it just comes from the fact when there's been a self-realization that what you're worth, what is your how do you want your relevance to be based on in this industry, in this place, and from within your own self, what do you stand for? What kind of actor you are. So I think it's very important to ask certain questions to yourself. And I remember my mindset with which I signed a film like Vicky Donor, which was so new, which was so bold, and because there was no fear, there was no expectations that were clinged on, or fear of losing anything. So I think the word is fearless, and it's not about anger. It's not about I have to be part of films which talk about some social issues always. No, this is an industry. We're working in films. The whole idea is audience should be engaged. Audience should be entertained, whatever the concept is. The same concept, like for example, a Bala was I thought even Pari was an empowered character in her own way, which may pass off as something frivolous, as drama, as something so over the top. But the heart of it, there was also a scene, for example, where you say, no, someone like her, she makes sense. She stands her ground for this reason and she's justified, for example. Or from there to a Thursday, where I'm not justifying her actions.
Yeah.
I'm not justifying the route, the path that she took. But at the heart of it, it is something, what she says in the end, in the last 15 minutes of the film. I thought for me that was the film, and that was exactly why I said yes. It's something which everybody would connect with in some way or the other. You don't have to be just a woman or only a girl to feel. Anyone who loves them, any father, any brother, any husband, it was for everyone. It was there from that perspective. So, but it has to be presented in a way that the audience connects with. That's very important for me. I will never do a film where, I know it's saying something new, but can it be said in a better way? Can it be said in a way that people connect with? versus I connect with, and that's the most important thing, because that is true. That is what happens. No, then I
Mm.
think, because I want the films to do well, I want the films to reach the very audience for whom the film's being made. So this fire, and I think the series of choices that happened, especially in the recent years, was from this idea of fearlessness. Because somewhere when you get success with your first film and you're moving on, you start your journey with the industry, you're probably not even still prepared at that time, and it just hits you, right, that suddenly you're in this place and you're pitted against everybody and everything that happens around, but you're never prepared. And that is one of the main differences when we're not from the industry. And this fear comes in you. This fear kind of makes way because everyone has something or the other to suggest to you, that do this, don't do that, don't do this kind of film, you'll be typecast, not
Yeah.
realizing I've already been typecast.
Very true.
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
do do certain films, do certain photo shoots, look tough.
Very true.
I've had so many suggestions. Someone said, you should do a shoot on a motorbike. I said, matlab? They said, yeah, I should look tough. Like, if I need to do a role in which I need to be on a motorbike, I will be. They said, no. So I'm like, so you see, this is where I may have dismissed what the person said, but a
Yeah.
thought that this is what you need to do also to kind of keep proving yourself. But my point used to
Yeah.
be, but I'm doing films now, full-fledged film is there to see my potential, or you take my screen test. Right. So the day I decided, what, I'm not going to do a film just to fill in my calendars or
Yeah.
out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. I'm only going to do films that I connect with. My heart is in those films. There is no cheating in that process, and I have to be true to myself in my what work I do. That day, some magic happened, and the first film, I don't know how it'll sound, but the first film was Uri, that came out of that attitude,
Yeah.
followed by everything else.
That's so beautiful. And this is exactly why I admire Yami so much, by the way. It's because of the same fearlessness. I kind of relate a lot with that, by the way, especially in this phase of my life.
Thank
But
you, Anush.
Priya, for you, again, I think it's quite interesting because what Yami said is, I think kind of in a way, it's very similar to sort of the body of work that you've done as
Yeah.
well. Like I watched Nehru, for example, and
Yeah.
in Nehru, the role that you play of a lawyer, again,
Yeah.
who is perhaps on the one may argue on the wrong ethical side,
Yeah.
right? But yet she's doing her duty as a lawyer.
Yes. Yes.
So when it comes to this roles that you've chosen and all of that, how fearless do you feel like you've had to become over time, especially in an industry like ours?
No, I mean, I completely agree with what Yami just said. Just adding a point to what she said when she just said that, somebody suggested that she do a photo shoot on a motorbike. Believe it or not, I kept getting suggestions. I don't know if it is till today or maybe as early as, I think, just after COVID, as early as 21 or 22, I can say that I kept, a lot of people said, keep doing do a hot photo shoot. I said, what do you mean by a hot photo shoot? You mean I should wear a bikini and do it, or, to look glamorous? Because I feel I look nice enough. I mean, are you looking at me for my literal body, or you're looking at you're looking at me for my body of work? And I completely believe in my body of work. I don't believe in saying that I just because I wear a short dress or I reveal my body, I need to look hot. I can look hot even when I wear a salwar kameez, or I can look hot even when I wear a sari or a jeans or whatever. And as rightly as Yami said, I think it just comes through. For me, it has just been through my experience in these 20 years that I've been in the industry. Right from the start, I was very fortunate that I worked with the best of the best directors. Even though at start the movies, it took its own time to release, and at a point in time, I also thought that I would leave this industry and maybe think of a plan B, go for something else. But I think then in 2006, a movie called Paritiviran came up, and that changed the course of my, it completely changed my direction, and I became a lot more fearless and, in choosing the roles and making a point what she wants to, she wants to prove herself. I wanted to prove myself. to myself and to the audience that, look, I am much beyond just this character. I can do everything. I can do anything. But just like me for what I am. Don't like me for what you don't like me for what you want me to be. Though I did get a lot of suggestions that, you need to do this, you need to do this. But at the end of the day, your gut feeling is your gut feeling. You feel, when you feel right that this project or what you're doing is right, I think there's nothing to beat it.
Absolutely. And I think a film like this, honestly, is very brave
Yeah.
in many ways. And I know, obviously, there's been a film called The Kashmir Files, which released a few years ago, Yami. And I watched that and I was absolutely gobsmacked by it. I thought the way it was crafted, the sort of story it sort of brings out, again, it deserved to get that platform in terms of actually telling the pain of what Kashmiri Pandits went through. Aditya, I believe, is also a Kashmiri Pandit.
That's true.
And obviously, a lot of the experiences he's gone through, I feel, have been very personal. I think this Article 370 is perhaps very personal to him, I'm sure, in many ways. When it comes to a story like this, because I think sort of focus on terrorism being a very dangerous business. I think the line that you've chosen here is a very important one because it's completely steering away from any other sort of debates that may come up or any other labels that may come up. Um, Again, as an artist, when you are exploring someone's pain essentially, because it will, I'm sure, talk about all of this and the dangers of terrorism, how does one prepare themselves again mentally and emotionally for that, because it's not easy, right, to bring this story to light?
You're absolutely right, Anuj. It's not easy, but if you're getting an opportunity, if you're getting a platform, um, then somewhere there is some force that is trusting you to bring those stories forward. We cannot, you can't undo the pain. No one can do that, right? That that's done. It's already happened. But somehow, I think one of the most human emotions is when we go through pain. We look to we. It's not about just sympathy, but compassion. You know, we 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 uh, we need that compassion. We need that comfort. That we know something's happened. Even the smallest thing in life that happens when we go through some kind of pain, it's compassion. We're humans. We're never meant to be living in isolation or solitude, right? Solitude was punishment for a reason, because man cannot survive in solitude, right? We lose your mind. So I think lack of expression was one of the most common things that happened, especially as far as Kashmiris are concerned. I don't think beyond certain lines or beyond certain paragraphs in our respective textbooks, there was much that we got to read or educate ourselves that what had happened. And so we didn't have much idea about it, to be very honest, beyond what was just there, what was mentioned, in the textbooks. That's it. And at least through these films, through certain um, um, you know issues that are being that people are having conversations about, those stories came forward and they felt kind of uh, I don't know what's the word, but that, okay, yeah, we were heard. We were just someone was listening to us. Someone heard us, right? Most of them, whoever I've come across in my life, from Kashmiri background, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're judges, holding some of the most important posts in corporate world, and etc etc, and they're doing so well for themselves because that's what that they I think education is something that they give paramount importance to, which is great. But somehow when you try and when you pent up your emotions for too long, it was kind of due that it had to come and get, and had to be expressed that way. And there is no other. When it comes to a pure emotion, they're as basic and as uh, as simple as they are. You know,
Mm.
your smile or your laughter you can't fake, and your tears you cannot fake. You get to know when
Yeah.
something's coming from the heart, be it your smile or your tears. So it was
Yeah.
just that. So when being Kashmiri from Aditya and Lokesh's perspective, that they started their production B62, this is kind of, you can say, an ode, you can say a dedication, you can say a devotion to, of course, to the Kashmiris, to and to all the people, to all the forces, be it in the respective offices, defense, intelligence, who made the effort, who made such an important event of national importance, which will definitely goes down in one of the most important landmarks in our political history, happen and come alive, and the
Yeah.
consequences are right there in front of us. And so that was the whole idea. Hence, it was emotional, but at the same time, very important to balance it out with the right cinematic language, so
Absolutely.
people engage, and people are non-Kashmiris or anyone, you should, it's a vast audience, you should engage,
Yeah.
that what is it about this article and about this whole discussion or debate, that it happened, what happened,
Yeah.
and how.
Mm.
That's the
Absolutely.
idea.
No, very, very true. And I think it is very important. I'm looking forward to seeing the film. But I think on a final note, Priya,
Mm.
I think you are definitely, I mean, the journey you both, of course, have had. But Priya, I think it's wonderful to see, obviously you work in an amazing film like Jawan as well last year. I think if there is this in this whole pan-India movement, you've definitely been a very huge like figure in that. And I think you've got Maidan as well coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We're now seeing a sort of an equilibrium, I think, of Indian cinema now, which used to
Yeah.
be there, but then it got discontinued, and now it's kind of gaining momentum now.
Yeah.
And I think, thank God. I mean, of course, these North South debates will always happen because I just think people are jobless and they've got nothing better to do in life. But in terms of for you as an artist now, for you to see Indian cinema on a united front, uske aage, what do you think will continue to give us strength in terms of this pan-India movement that we're seeing?
I think this itself is giving us a lot of strength. I think the doors have definitely opened. It was open a long back, but I mean, it was open long back, where you had, people from the Hindi film industry coming and working in the South actors. Um, Maybe not a lot of them, but yes, a few of them came and they made their mark, nationally as well. And by that I mean, they were seen in a lot of Hindi a lot of Hindi films, and they were known worldwide. But I think now the doors have opened, more opportunities for everybody, not only in the films, but even if you're taking the web series space as well, the OTT space. I think that itself has opened up so many doors, as in terms of you're getting new content, you're getting content creators, if I can say that, not keeping the influencers aside. I'm saying you're getting a lot of new directors, new writers, actors exploring, venturing into a lot of other spaces, perhaps, which they did not do uh, during their stint in the films. So I think that itself it's opened. I mean, that itself is a huge opportunity, and I think this will continue for a long time, because it's just opened doors for a lot more. So I think you will. I mean, India and the world will definitely see a lot more.
Oh, I'm very happy to hear that. But look, Yami and Priya, thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy. Honestly, I could spend hours talking to you both because there's so much wealth of wisdom and experience, and I think you both as talents are remarkable. And I cannot wait to watch Article 370 just to see your amazing performances. Honestly, I cannot wait, and
Thank
yeah, I
you.
can't wait for
Thank you,
audiences
Anuj.
to check it out too.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Anuj. Thank you for always being so kind and so generous to everyone. I've seen you around, and you're so nice to everyone, and that's really sweet. And I hope that we've done our part right with this film, and you feel the same, what the kind of discussion we had today.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Yami, and thank you
Thank
for
you. Thank you so much.
fearless. Honestly, it's so important. I freaking love that. So keep that fire going. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And you as
Thank
well,
you, Anuj.
Priya.
Thanks. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.